Well, guys, we got a good one for you tonight. We're going to talk to the winners of the 2024 Majestic on Lake Darbonne. I said winners. We had one guy win the heavy stringer. We had one guy win the big fish. Waylon Rosson was the overall big fish winner with the bass weight over 7 pounds, and Ben Littleton weighed in a total stringer of 26 pounds. Now, this is not your normal bass tournament. This is a 24-hour bass tournament. And these guys and gals got out there and went at it. It's a 25-hour if we're going to get down to brass tacks. It's very, very interesting. Great conversation. Also was joined by Dale Taylor. Dale puts on a lot of tournaments in this area. He's the guy that also puts on the Majestic. Some great, I'm telling you, probably one of the best fishing podcasts that I've ever done. So let's get on to some sponsors. Marion State Bank, first off, want to thank everybody out there at Marion State Bank for giving us a hand, for making this thing possible. If you need a bank local, check out Marion State Bank. Number 2, Farmerville, the town of Farmerville and the Union Parish Tourism Commission. Thank you guys so much for what you do for our area. You can go check out their webpage. It tells you what's going on in and around the area. You can go check out the town of Farmerville's Facebook page, tell you what's going on around Farmerville. Also, discover Monroe, West Monroe. When you guys come up to Monroe or West Monroe, whether you live here or you're visiting, go check out that page for all of the to-dos in and around Monroe and West Monroe. I'm telling you, their webpage is solid. Their Facebook page is incredible. Go check them out. They do a good service right here in North Louisiana. And finally, Janet Fortenberry State Farm. For all your insurance needs, go check out Janet Fortenberry State Farm. Thank you, Miss Janet, for getting on board with us. Now, we go out to the Origin Bank Studios. When we do them in person, we do them out to Origin Bank Studios for Talking Majestic with Dale, with Waylon, and with Ben. Hope y'all enjoy. Well, folks, we had so much fun last time right here at the Origin Bank Studios in Farmerville. We decided we'd do it again. Had the Majestic this past weekend. Now, the Majestic Bass Tournament. I made a Facebook post, Mr. Dale, and I called it the granddaddy of them because it has worked its way. It's been in existence so long now that it is really a tournament that pretty much everybody knows about in this area. We've got Dale Taylor with us today. He's the one that puts on the Majestic. We got Ben Littleton here. He won heavy stringer, and let me tell you something. That heavy stringer, it was something. Okay, it surprised me, the weights of the heavy stringer. I'm glad you're here. We had to work to get this one here, y'all. Thanks to Energy for allowing him time to get up here and do this. And we've got little old Farmerville celebrity, Waylon Rosson. He's a fireman right here in Farmerville. And Waylon actually won the big bass for the Majestic this year. So I appreciate you guys for coming in and talking to us. Mr. Dale, we're going to start with you. All right. So, give me a little background on you, Mr. Dale.
Well, I was born and raised in Calhoun, Louisiana, but my dad's from Spearsville, so I do have roots in Union Parish.
Okay.
He was a peach grower, worked for LSU at the experiment station in Calhoun, and actually the Majestic name came from a peach that Daddy developed and released. It was called a Majestic. And this tournament's actually an offshoot from the Peach Festival. Ed Pittman actually started this very tournament. He did it for 2 years and decided it was a little bit too much work. So he asked me if I'd take it over. And the first year we tried it, the Tourist Bureau in Ruston wanted us to pay them for the name Peach Festival. So I decided I would just honor my dad and name the thing the Majestic.
For the Majestic
after
Peach.
His peach.
How about that? Now, what year was that?
That was 1999. Okay. Sure was. This is our 25th year.
Okay.
To do the Majestic tournament.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm looking at the numbers. Mr. Dale is a statistics guy, and he gave us some numbers here that are really, really impressive. We'll go over those here in just a minute. So, Mr. Dale, I want you to talk to me real quick about, first off, tell us about the payouts for the Majestic. How does that work?
Well, we have hourly weigh-ins. It's every 2 hours, and we'll pay 4 places, depending on how many entries we have. It usually ranges from $1,000 to $1,200 each pay period for 4 places. Mm-hmm. First place usually being $500, and then at the end we have the overalls, which Ben and Waylon both cashed in on. They're $1,000 for first place in each category, big bass and stringer.
Mhm.
But we also have a fruit jar. They're $10 for big bass, $10 for heavy stringer, and the winners take all. So
Okay.
those guys got a pretty good chunk of change out of that because just about everybody gets in it. We had 134 entries this year, and I think one of them was 1,280, and the other one was 1,250. So that's a pretty good chunk of change just on the fruit jars.
So that's 134. That's how many total boats was out there this past
Well,
weekend?
total entries, yeah.
Total entries.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How many is that about average for what usually takes
Yeah,
place?
it's last year I think we had 137. Now back when we started, we used to have 200 to 250 in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we always were the second week in June. Well, Ronald McDonald was in May, but they decided they wanted to get on the Louisiana Free Fishing Day, which is second week in June. And they were doing Felsenthal then too. So they wanted that weekend. So we moved back to the first weekend in June.
Mm-hmm.
But we lost some, we lost some people then. And I don't know exactly why, but, you got two major tournaments on 2 following weekends. There's only so much money you can spend on them. And I think that's what caused the numbers to go down. Now, this day and time, I think the economy has a lot to do with it. We
Yeah.
were averaging 150 to 165 up until 2 years ago.
I got you.
And it's off a little bit. But there's guys, some of them, this is the only tournament they fish.
Oh, I agree with that.
They
Yeah.
live for it, believe me. I told them I would quit, but y'all hunt me down and lynch me if I did. So.
Yeah.
But I got Daniel taking over, and he's gonna keep it going.
Yeah, I've worked with you and Daniel with the
Mhm.
Louisiana team, and I'm gonna tell you, he is really doing a good job.
He is.
I think he's gonna be,
He's gonna be
Dale Taylor
fine.
2.0.
Yeah.
He'll fill in just perfectly for you. So I think the Majestic is got a strong future. I believe.
Yeah.
I believe it's got a strong and such a strong future. You're gonna be doing Majestics at other lakes, aren't you?
Yeah, we've already done another one this year down at Caney, and we're gonna do one July the 6th on Claiborne.
Yeah.
That one's pretty popular. We've really weighed some big fish up there the last 2 times we were there.
Yeah.
In fact, we had 11-pounder 2 years ago up there.
Dang, off Claiborne.
On Claiborne, had 11, a 10, a 9, and 2 8s that night.
That's a lake that's really starting to come on in our area, man. I tell you, we were out at Claiborne for the Louisiana team. That was the first one I ever MC. And man, the weights that I saw come off Lake Claiborne, just they really impressed
Yeah,
me.
old Santa showed out that day.
He
I think
did.
he had the big bass.
He did.
And it held for the year.
Yeah,
he got a
it sure
free
did.
replica off.
Yeah, 8.6, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, all right, Ben, give me some background on you, bro. First off, thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate it. I wanted to get heavy fish, heavy stringer, and Mr. Dale on here, but I didn't know if we were going to be able to get you. I knew you'd be easy. I didn't know about you, so thank you. I know it takes time out of your day, bro.
Well, these storms have had that boy busy.
Yeah.
I don't
As soon as I
think
got
he's
done with this
gotten any
tournament.
rest since the Majestic.
Yeah.
It's been rough.
Yeah.
But I was born and raised in West Monroe. My grandpa owned a little farm up here in Farmville, so we spent a lot of time in Farmville, up here baling hay all summer and whatnot. And I remember growing up, on days Dad was cutting hay, I could go fishing. He'd drop me off on Darbonne and let me fish all day. And then days he was baling, I was out there helping him. But started fishing the lake, fishing tournaments. I got a little brother, just a year younger than me. We fished Tuesday nighters with Mr. Dale, and we were little bitty things running around a little 1548 and doing pretty good. We spent a lot of time on that lake and did pretty well. Working at Energy now, I don't have the time I used to fishing tournaments. I pick and choose. I always fish Mr. Dale's or try to if I can. But I've gotten where I crappie fish more now than I bass fish, and I enjoy that. But
I was telling somebody the other day, it's a crappie fisherman, Bryce Ackerman.
Yeah.
He was doing some crappie fishing, and he caught a good bass. I think he was on bus, he caught a good bass.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, the best ones do it both. I've seen some guys that can great bass fishermen turn over, catch some crappie. I've seen great crappie fishermen turn over and catch some bass. So crappie skills as good as your bass skills.
they're pretty good. I do pretty well.
Well, that's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
So anything else you got? Married? Got kids?
Married, and actually today's my anniversary,
Wow,
15
happy
years.
anniversary.
So
Hey, that's a
Happy
long time.
anniversary.
That's something to talk
Congratulations.
about, man.
long time.
I saw your picture this morning. Sure did on Facebook.
I had to share it on Facebook, a picture of me and my wife when we got married.
Boy, you were a baby.
I know it. She's a good woman. She lets me do all the fishing and hunting I want to do and never complains about it. So kudos to her.
That's a gem right there, bro.
And I got a little 11-year-old girl. I take her as much as possible. She's pretty gamey. She's killed some good deer and some turkeys and caught a bunch of fish and trying to bring her up right.
Well, I see you got that Matthews archery shoot on.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. What Matthews you shoot?
VXR.
That's what I shoot.
That's right.
Man,
Good
sir. That's the first bow. I had a monster, one of the first monsters that they came out with. And I shot it. And I knew, I said, I don't want to go shoot a new bow. Well, I walked in down there at Spotted Dog.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Richard.
And I saw the VXR on display. I thought it was a joke. I mean, this thing's got cams that are huge. And I said, what is this? Some kind of like gimmick or something? He said, no, man, shoot it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to shoot it. He said, no, shoot it. I shot it.
You were sold.
That thing, hey, 2 weeks. Hey, it stayed on my mind for 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
And finally, I'll never forget. I was working with Evergreen company out of El Dorado, and we were in Graphic. And I was sitting in my company truck, and it done ate me alive. I called him up. I said, Richard, put me one on over. He said, what you want? I said, I want a black 28. He said, all right, it'll be here. And sure enough, but I said, oh my gosh, I love that bow.
Sweet little
Best setup man around too.
Oh yeah, he is one of the best. He is one of the best. So you talked about trying to fish tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make it a point to fish the Majestic if you can?
I do. I think I missed it last year, and that was probably the first year I've missed it in a long time. And it kind of ate me up watching all the weights and stuff Mr. Dale puts on Facebook. But I can't be on the fish as much as I could when I was younger. And I feel like if I'm not competitive, I don't want to do it. I don't want to just go out there to go fish in a tournament. If I do something, I'm all in, and if I can't be out there pre-fishing and doing the whole thing, then I just about assume not do it. So I focus more on just, fishing, crappie fishing, and just fun fishing, and doing stuff with the family. Like next week, we're going to Tennessee on a little vacation. But I'm just trying to spend time with her while she's little and watching her grow up. Chasing her playing tennis. She plays tennis. We do a lot of that on the weekends.
Yeah, so. That's good. So I was at Walk-Ons Sunday morning. Me and the girls went to Walk-Ons to eat lunch, and I saw Santos Mitchell in the parking lot. He had gone to work. He was sitting there getting him a break, getting him some lunch, and I asked him how he did, and he told me, yeah, I did this. And I said, who won? He said, I don't know. I think Ben may have won, but I'm not sure. So Santos was already, he had you on his radar.
We talked, and we were in the holding tanks several times during the day together, sitting there talking back and forth. But yeah, Santos always, he's a stick, and he always does really well in this tournament. So it was an accomplishment to beat a lot of those guys are sticks. I mean, there's 20 of them that I can name off that just, it's anybody's game in that tournament. They're all good on that lake. And I was just fortunate. I just landed in the right spots at the right time, and I got lucky, to be honest with you.
So let's segue into that. So talk a little bit about your tournament from, first off, it's a little over 24 hours.
Yeah, it's actually 25.
How many hours of that 25 did you fish?
Probably 24. I pulled out for an hour to get gas, and I ate dinner with my wife and daughter, and then I went right back.
The last one we talked about, Ryan Hansen was sitting right where you're at, and he said he fishes the same way the whole tournament.
Normally, my wife would always bring me, when I fished it when I was younger, she'd bring me dinner out there to the boat. I'd meet her at the boat ramp and eat dinner with her there. She'd give it to me, and I'd roll out. But normally, I'm there the whole time.
So out of the 24 hours that you fished, how did it go?
Man, it was steady. I mean, I was constantly catching fish up until the storm. When the storm hit, which I caught my biggest fish, right? The thunder and lightning was popping, and I was getting ready to take shelter, and I caught that 7-pounder. And went and weighed her and weighed another 4-pounder I just caught before that one. And I sat up there with Mr. Dale and then watching the thunder and lightning, me and Dalrymple and Courtney Harris all sitting there talking. And the weather moved out. I hauled butt back out there, and I don't think I hardly caught a fish for the next 3 or 4 hours. Just all that lightning and thunder and storming, just, to me, it shuts them down. It makes it tough for a little while. And I didn't get much of a bite till right before daylight. I caught a few, and then right at daylight, I caught a real nice one of my better fish, like a 530 right at daylight.
So
yeah, that's when it put you out of reach.
Yeah,
you were at 24, and it bumped you to 26.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So you had an overall weight of 26. What was it? 26 what?
15, I believe.
26, 15? Yeah. Get your statistics out, stat man.
Let me put my eyes on it.
But so which was probably your stronger bite? Was it a morning better bite, even better bite, late night? Sounds like right before that storm came in.
Yeah, well, The top water bite at daylight was really strong, which I think only one of my weigh fish for the day came during that morning top water bite. But and it was just sporadic all day long. I mean, I just bumped into them here and there, and I'd catch a good one out of each group. I don't know. There wasn't no specific spot or time or bait. It was, I bet out of my 5 fish, I think I caught them on probably 5 different techniques pretty much. I mean,
Really? Man, that's strong.
It was all
That's
over
good.
the place.
Yeah. So you were at first place with 26.15.
Mhm.
Second place was
Mm.
22.25. I mean, that's
Big jump.
that is
That's
a big
That's
jump.
the best sack I've ever caught on Darbonne in a tournament. I've had a few 20-pound bags, but 26, that's pretty stout for Darbonne.
The top 10 had over 20 pounds.
Actually, I think we had about 20 stringers.
Was it 20?
Well, 10 or 15 over 20 pounds.
I'm telling you, that's a lot of, it surprised me when I looked at the top, for the
I think it
stringer.
was a top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I looked at it, I was like, man, that is
Stout.
Yeah, because we had Louisiana team,
Mhm.
and I think the winning stringer was like 17, 18. I don't think it busted 20.
I don't remember this year what it was,
Yeah,
but
man.
it depends on when you're there. Too,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Because last year it was like 22.
Mhm.
The Cobbs won it,
Yeah, remember that.
and it was early.
Yeah, but to have over 20 pounds, especially 26, this late, because those fish have spawned.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's the thing that makes a Majestic so appealing to everybody. This is the time of year when you can still catch daytime fish, but the nighttime fish is really coming on too.
Mhm.
So the guys that like night fishing, they've got a chance. The guys that do the channel fishing and the day fishing and don't fish at night, they've got a chance. It's just anybody's game out there. That long a tournament, anybody can win it.
Yeah.
And like Ben, he fished the whole thing basically, and a lot of the old timers do that still. You take old Frank Henry, he looked like a zombie when he came up, but
Mr.
Frank
Frank
wound
does
up
that
with
every
20
year.
pounds,
Yeah.
He stayed with it the whole time.
I saw Mr. Frank Friday. I put in for just a couple hours Friday morning before it went off limits, and I saw Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank, you on them yet? Because he's always on them. Mr. Frank always does really well in that tournament. And we both went and rode around and just scouting the lake that morning.
So let's oh man, I had another good question. I can't remember what I was about to. I was gonna say a good one, and I know if I find it, I'll come back to it. Okay. New kid on the block. Now a lot of y'all might not recognize Waylon in the fishing because Waylon, do you fish many tournaments?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
A lot of Tuesdays and Saturday local
A
tournaments.
lot of local tournaments.
Yes, sir. And I fish his tournament. Make
Yeah.
a point to fish that one.
Well, he's a young guy. That's why I call him new kid on the block. Young guy. I guess I don't know how old you are.
37.
Okay, well I know he ain't that.
He's the baby in the
He the
crowd.
baby,
That's
and
it,
he
baby in the
got that little
crowd.
baby face too.
That's it.
So Waylon, give us some background on you.
I'm full-time fireman here in Farmville, born and raised. I'm not firefighting. I'm doing roofing and construction. And if not doing that, I'm fishing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm born here. I fish most of Tuesdays and Saturday nights I can. And I look forward to that Majestic every year. It's getting big, and I think this year was a lot of big fish caught, compared to the years before, coming up this year. Last year you looked and it was like, what, 4-pounders winning that hour.
Mhm.
And this year you had to catch a 5+ to even try to, be in the money. I think the year before that it was 3-pounders.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well-
I spend a lot of time. I think 89% of when I'm fishing, I'm probably on Darbonne or the Looters, just here local.
Yeah.
I like to make a couple trips to Caney every year.
Mhm.
I let Lake's pretty over there. But other than that, I stay local. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What were you gonna say?
We'll touch on that when we get through. It's there's a lot of talk going around about lowering the lake every 4
Yes, sir.
years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the tournaments that I run will show you some numbers. Now, the reasons for it are questionable. I
Right.
think it's a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But always the year after the drawdown will be your worst year. And it'll progressively get better. This is the 4th year. It's a drawdown year, and it was exceptionally good. But there's a lot of reasons for it, and we may have time to talk about that.
Yeah, I've got that on my notes for the
Good,
general. We're
good.
gonna talk about the drawdown schedule a little later if time allows us. So Waylon, as a new person, younger guy, young people, when we're talking about forward facing sonar, everybody's telling you it's a young man's game. Young man's game. How old are you?
25.
You got forward facing sonar?
I do not yet.
Not
I'm
yet.
going to get it, but I don't have it yet.
That's probably why you doing that roofing construction. So
That's
you save
it.
up
Got to
good
save
little-
a little money. To
That's right.
Invest, but
That's right. So you have fished the Majestic before.
yes, sir.
How many more have you? How many other ones have you done?
I think last 4 years I fished the Majestic, and then last year was the first year I cut a check. I won an hour.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. And I'm asking this question because I know you. How much effort have you put into your fishing this year versus some of the years in the past?
Well, these last few years I've really been hitting it hard.
Yeah.
A lot of Tuesdays and Saturdays. Something I look forward to, especially working all week. It's kind of a little break, little getaway to just be able to go fish. And I put a lot of time into it. The last few weeks, I've really been looking forward to this Majestic and just kind of coming up with a game plan and, not sure where to go. I think it takes a big advantage away from you when you don't have forward-facing sonar, and you're competing against people that, have it and know how to use it really well. I think it makes it a little harder on you. So I think this year my game plan was I was just targeting brim beds.
Mhm.
That's what I was doing. After that morning bite got away, I was, throwing top water, spinner baits early in the morning, just trying to get a bite. Got some bites, nothing crazy, nothing big. So when the water warmed up, when the sun came up high in the sky, I went to chasing the brim beds I know. And for me, it seemed like the shallow ones were played out. It being so hot, I think them shallow ones were played out. So I started targeting deeper brim beds. And I got a few more bites doing that. I lost this fish was this big, it was
Yeah.
probably 4 or 5 pounds, something like that. It's a pretty good pull. I could tell he'd come up to the top of the water and he shook my bait. I was throwing a big worm on some brim beds and he come up and he shook it at the top of the water and lost him. And, if you fish long enough, you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
And so I kept fishing. When I caught that big one, it was probably, what was it? It was late in the midday. That was 11 o'clock hour, so it was probably, I don't know, 11:15 when I caught it, something like that. And I seen some gizzard shad jump up out of the water, and I done been finesse fishing the brim beds all day, all morning. So I threw a rattle trap on, a little swim bait, because I seen the gizzard shad jump on. And where these brim beds were was on a little point, and the point dropped off to probably 14 foot. And when I looked around me, there was probably 4 or 5 boats out there too, fishing them drop offs with live scopes. Like I said, they looking, they fishing, trying to find fish in them points. And I seen them gizzard shad jump up. So I tied on that rattle trap and I threw way out there. I had my fresh line on my reel, just picked up, ain't touched this rod all morning. I picked it up and I slung it way out there. And when it got way out there, I started reeling it and I thought I hooked into a log. It started, boom, I set the hook and it just bowed up. And you know that sound that like rubbing rock on a glass, that little screeching noise when you hear that line stretching? That's what I heard. And when I heard that, I said, God, and I'd hit that drag and it said, zzz, and she started pulling. And I went to fighting her and I was like, God, that's a big fish. I either hooked into a op or a big bass. So I got the trolling motor and I started going to her. She was big and I hooked her way out there. So I started going to her and reeling, and I got probably 10 foot from her. And she'd come up to the top of the water. And I guess somewhere during that fight, one of the treble hooks on the rattle trap came out of her and she was skin hooked inside the bottom lip.
Mm-hmm.
When I seen her come up about 10 from me, I was like, oh, and my stomach dropped when I seen that one hook in her. So I got her right here and I picked up my left hand and I grabbed the net and I threw it down in there. And when she come up, she flopped off. She flopped off and went in the net, and I picked her up and I threw her down. And you know how you catch a big fish like that, you get excited. So I'm like, yeah, and I got to looking around, and all the boats are just looking at me, all around me. They're all looking at me, and I'm like, oh, and I picked up that fish, and they're like, oh yeah, congratulations, and whew.
You see that enthusiasm.
I see that.
That's what makes it. Right
That
there.
is.
It does.
That's what makes
Here's the funny part: when I picked up the net, I didn't even realize it at the moment, but there was a rod and a life jacket laying on top of it. I slung the rod in the water, the life jacket went somewhere, I don't know. I actually went back yesterday to where I caught it, dragging a bell weight and a treble hook, and caught the rod again.
How about
Found
that?
my rod. Yeah.
Man, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah. But Ooh, it was exciting when I caught that fish. I won't ever forget that.
Now, did you know you had a 7? I mean, you got scales and everything in your boat, so you knew you pretty
Yeah, I
well had
knew
a
you
7-pound fish.
seven. Yeah,
What
and
is
7
767?
6. I think
766.
766.
Yeah,
It's a good fish.
That is a very good fish.
I felt like I was in like some kind of professional, like cameras on me type deal when I looked up and everybody was looking at me.
And I know we had already weighed one other a 754 was the first fish weighed in.
Really?
That boy was from Gina, never been on the lake before.
Yeah,
And I think there was a 7 caught after yours.
Mine.
that's it.
Yeah, it was real close.
Close ounces. What's your 745?
7,
McKinley.
32. I think.
McKinley caught a 7.
Yeah,
732.
it was definitely some big fish caught. Saturday.
Yeah, some very
Yeah,
good
and you
fish.
caught a 7, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
sure
caught a
did.
7.
There was 4 of them caught.
Mm.
That says something.
So how did it feel when were you anxious? Like when you came up to the scales and you knew you're in first place, how did it feel until were you nervous? Were you pretty confident nobody's going to touch it?
It always feels good when you come in with a big fish to
Yeah.
get away in. It really does. And when I seen it, the leading it was 582. A good friend of mine, Sean, was leading it, Sean
Mhm.
Brown, and and it was right before that next hour, so I felt confident going away, and I was excited.
Yeah.
And Daniel, he grabbed the sack and he opened it up and he looked at me and said, "Oh," and anyway, he said, "That's definitely beating that 582," and he weighed it in, and it was a good feeling. It really was.
Good feeling. So how many checks did you actually collect?
3 checks.
3 checks. How about you?
A bunch of them.
Yeah,
7 or 8. I'm not sure.
Really?
He won some hours.
But that's that fishing for
Yeah,
24
that's
hours.
it.
Man. It opens up your opportunity to do that.
That's right. It's a grind.
It is a grind, but it'll pay off.
Oh yeah.
It
Well,
can pay off.
The heavy stringer always wins the most money because to win heavy stringer, you're winning some hours.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, I got you. How many hours did you fish? Do you think?
All but 3. I took a break right there at lunch and
Mhm.
went back out probably 2:30, something like that.
So how many people do you think grind it out for?
A lot.
It
A lot
was
of people do.
I would imagine out of 134, probably at least 100 of them.
Yeah.
At least the whole thing.
it was a lot of boats.
It's
Man,
hard to
that
come
is
off that water. You're just thinking about
long
the back of your
traffic.
head, man. I have to hit one more spot, one more spot.
And you're probably thinking, man, if I leave,
Well, that was another thing. I had such a good weight up into the day, like
Couldn't
you're scared to
afford to
leave at
leave.
that point. Like
Yeah.
your next flip might be a 5-pounder, and that 5-pounder might be the one you need to put you on up there to win stringer. So I didn't feel confident until I caught that last 5-pounder at daylight. That's when I knew I was like, I got this thing in the bag.
Yeah.
But I was a madman, covered as much water as I could until that point.
Now, did you know you were leading heavy stringer, or did you have a good assessment?
Yeah, because the update, the group me stuff and the Facebook stuff, man, that makes it nice. I can remember back in the day, you had K104 would come on there and do an announcement here and there, and some hours they'd forget to do it, and you'd be texting everybody and have a radio going in your boat the whole time trying to keep up with it. But now with that group me and Facebook, you pretty well know. And I got other buddies that are fishing; they'll tell me, oh, so and so's got this up there right now. Kind of, I guess with social media and the group me stuff, you stay kind of updated as you fish. So no guessing.
Yeah. So Mr. Dale has us some interesting statistics here for that. He's got every hour, every weigh in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to embed this in the video when we show it of the weights or the number of fish weighed per hour, the total weights each hour, and then the average weight for each hour. And I'll tell you this, the entire tournament, Mr. Dale and Daniel weighed 373 fish.
Ooh.
That's a job, you know.
That's a lot of
You know,
fish.
he's weighing them and I'm entering them in the computer. And you can see there where we weighed 8 fish 1 hour.
Uh-huh.
That's when we finally got to take a break.
That's yeah.
Actually, it's 2 hours. But with that many fish coming in, it took us nearly the whole 2 hours to make sure you can't make a mistake in this. It's got to be right.
Mhm.
And we actually print out the guys' weights when they weigh in. They get a ticket's got the weight of their fish so that we don't ever make a mistake. They got their numbers too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty involved for the whole 24 hours, believe me. But like I say, that's the most we've ever weighed in one Majestic.
And then you've got, for 373 fish, the total weight is 1,125.18
Mm-hmm.
for an average. The average weight of the 373 that were brought in is 3.01 pounds.
That's a healthy fishery.
That is
Very healthy.
That is very, very impressive.
These fish were, now out of the 373, we lost 10 fish at the scale. That we didn't feel like we didn't want to turn them loose, and we put them in a vat and watch them. And sure enough, we had 10 that just didn't make it.
Right.
The rest of them went back in the lake. Now, I'm not going to say there's not some mortality later, but these fish were extremely healthy and extremely lively. And the weather was perfect. We had some sun, we had some clouds, and it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these fish were caught shallow. And you can tell that because we didn't have to fizz any fish. And what I mean, if they're caught deep, it's just like you diving and coming up too quick, you get the bends. Well, these fish bladder won't deflate if you bring them up, fast. Well, you put them in a tank and they turn upside down. They can't balance themselves because that bladder's hadn't descended,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to stick a needle in them and let some of that air out. We didn't have to fizz a single fish. So most of these fish were caught shallow. And they, when they left there, they were gone, buddy.
Yeah.
They were in good shape. I went back Sunday evening to clean up Ludwig's. By the way, we really appreciate Mitch Ludwig and Ludwig Marine. Every year they let us have our tournament inside their shop. It's air conditioned. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I go back and clean up Sunday evening, and I always check back there where we turn them loose. I saw no fish floating, so they left there.
That's a good thing there.
That's really important to us. We have tanks that we rejuvenate these fish, put the slime back on them, and try to get them back in the lake as soon as possible. We control our temperature in our water so they're not shocked. We want the fish to survive. The worst thing you can do is have the public come along there and see a bunch of dead fish float.
Yes, that's right.
We do not want that.
That's right. You don't want to give any ammunition to people to take away what we love to do, whether it be fishing or hunting. People drive through town and they've got a deer and they got the tailgate down, and it's looks like a murder scene in the back end of that pickup truck. It kind of gives us a negative light sometimes.
Well, that will always be our number one thing, is to get as many of those fish back in the lake as we can in good shape.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, any tournament I've been a part of that you run, that's always been one of the first. Of course, boater safety number one.
Yeah, that's true.
And then this right here, fish.
Fish safety,
making sure the fish. In fact, you taught me something. I did a high school tournament this past weekend. The high school bass classic over in Shreveport.
Over on Caddo.
Yep, over on Caddo. And when I looked at those young guys, I said, young man, it is your responsibility to make sure your fish health, making sure your fish are okay is a big part of these tournaments that you're going to be going to, and I didn't realize how important that was. I always just thought, the fish, and it's just me, somebody that never tournament fished much, and just, you only lost a fish if something happened in your live well and your aerator didn't run. That ain't always the case.
Well, we only allow fishermen to have 3 fish at a time, and that's the reason why. We don't want a bunch of fish in a live well taking up oxygen and causing ammonia, because that kills them. Mm-hmm. We let them have 3 at a time. They can come weigh them in, go back and catch some more, but only 3 at a time, and it's strictly to keep those fish alive. Yeah.
So I've got one of my questions over. It's called what was better, the day bite or the night? Well, Mr. Dale answered it with these statistics. We had there was two times that had the exact same amount of fish weighed. That was the 10 a.m. to 12 noon. That's the one Waylon won.
Yep.
And then that was 54 fish.
54 we weighed in that 2 hours.
And then the next, it actually kind of, I'm not going to say it kind of surprised. Now I understand it's the last weigh-in. It's the last hour. So everybody's out there grinding it out. Yep. And you had 54 weighed in from 4 a.m. to 7.
That's right.
That's some busy time. Mm-hmm. And it's just you and Daniel.
Yeah. And Gail.
Oh, I forgot Miss Gail. That's right. That's right. My goodness gracious. So you wanted to, you hinted at another question. The lake drawdown. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that lake drawdown, Mr. Dale? As somebody who, as much as we know you love Lake Darbonne, you want to, if I had to say, give me a face of Lake Darbonne, somebody, you're going to be one of the first ones. So tell me, how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I'm not a fan of every 4 years. Mm-hmm. I think 6 would be fine. And I'm not saying that because I think it's causing mortality or whatever, the fish numbers to go down. It probably is, but there's a lot of reasons for that. Overharvest when the lake's down is a problem. I know. Your wildlife and fisheries are short-handed. They can't patrol everything while that lake is down. So, yeah, they take a hit for sure. But I think one of the reasons why the next year after the drawdown is because those fish have been displaced. Fishermen are creatures of habit. They want to go back to the same place, catch them fish, and they're not there. They're displaced. They may come back there, but they've got to travel, to get there.
Right.
I think that's one of the reasons. Another is pretty controversial, but I think the Tanner gates have changed the structure of this lake immensely. If you notice down there on the tram, when it's down this year, go down and look at the tram. It used to be 4 feet high. It's about that high now. It's been washed out.
Mm-hmm.
All of your arms are silting in. And it's because used to when you had high water and you had current in the lake, when they were trying to let some of the water out, it would follow the channels and it would cut across points and such as that. Now the whole lake moves. So there's current washing silt in, it's washing brush out. It's even taking out your marker poles on the channel. That's a big problem right now. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
And we're out there now trying to put buoys out on concrete blocks, and they're on stainless steel cable, but that current's making them twist and breaking those cables. So now they're trying to tie them to stumps and such as that to try to keep the channel marked. And I know we were talking about Frank a while ago. He hit a stump in the channel up Corny, right beside one of those buoys. It really ought to have been further out, but it was the only place they could tie it. So they went up and tied another one on that stump. So, but it's it's a problem that's got to be worked out. The post, the channel marker posts are really expensive to get them driven in the ground. But if the current's going to wash them out, it's money wasted. I don't know what the answer is, but something's going to have to be done because that channel's really getting hard to run. It's just not marked the way it was when we were used to it.
Yeah.
But as far as the drawdown every 4 years, like I said, I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Yeah, I noticed there's several fishermen, and like you said, I think the fishermen are not saying a drawdown isn't necessary. It's just the schedule.
Yeah,
it's the schedule.
Actually, if you're going to work on a dock, if you talk to the guys around here that build docks, they want water. They can't float their barge when the lake's down.
They can't get the barge up to drive.
Now, seawall's a different story.
Right.
You need your water off of it to fix a seawall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what's the future plans for the Majestic? You got any future hopes that you'd like to see for it?
Well, I ought to not let the cat out of the bag just yet, but we are working on a deal right now. I think y'all probably filled out a survey for us.
Yes.
We're working with the Tourist Bureau here in Farmerville, giving them some flat numbers on this tournament, what it brings to this parish. I've been doing it for 25 years, and it's all been on me. I've never had any help from anybody to do it. A few sponsors, and we really appreciate them. But the town of Farmerville has really benefited greatly from this tournament. There's no telling the money that it's brought to this town. And we sat down with them the week before the tournament and asked them what they needed, to make this thing even bigger. We want some money in it. We want some guaranteed money for what y'all want. And they said, well, give us some numbers, So we got them now. We got them some numbers to show them just exactly what this town's benefiting for monetarily for this tournament. So hopefully it's going to get even bigger.
Yeah. Now, it is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the largest hourly payout in this area?
It is, yeah.
And what was before that?
Ronald McDonald actually had the granddaddy of them all.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're gone now. They're not going to be coming back. This one, like I say, for this lake has always been the biggest. Now it's probably the biggest in North Louisiana. Okay. I don't know of another one. We paid out $20,000 in this one with 134 entries. So
And some real good sponsors.
Yeah. It's some good sponsors. You know, we've got some locals like Darbonne Marine and K&M still sponsoring, and Ditch Donkey. Chris Patton, he's in it. Terry Morris, you know, got Darbonne Marine and also Big Star.
Yep.
Of course, Gale's Flower Shop is one of the sponsors. Even down in town, Toledo Tackle and Honey Hole. Honey Hole, David over at the Honey Hole has been a big supporter of this tournament. He always gives gift certificates, and they'll give rods and reels. By the way, we do have two kids divisions, and they give rods and reels to give those kids. We got a ladies division, so those sponsors take care of those divisions for us. They'll have something. In fact, we had for the women's this year, we had a $235 pair of Costa sunglasses for the lady that finished first, and that was Tori Martin, new girl, hadn't fished it before. But yeah, the sponsors that we have, they don't give a lot of money, but they support us.
Yeah. Greg Turge's bait shop.
Yeah,
Marine.
Greg's always supported.
Yeah.
In fact, he gives the rod for one of the kids divisions every year.
Yeah.
And you know, Greg's getting into tournaments too, and he's doing a great job. He's doing media.
Yeah.
Greg's gonna be one to be around for a long time.
I can agree with that. You know, we do a little Facebook Live for the Louisiana team, and I do the best we can with it, you know, but what they've got with their Facebook Live has got to be not only the best locally, I think it's the best that I've ever seen.
Good.
I mean, Rick's got different camera angles.
Yep.
It is really, really something to look at. So they do a good job right there. So you got anything else you want to add, Mr. Dale?
Well,
Go ahead.
That's one thing I was going to say about his tournament, you know, compared to a lot of the other tournaments. One thing that makes it so exciting is everybody's got such a good chance of winning their money back. It paying out hourly like that every couple hours and being 24 hours. You know, that's what makes it so exciting is, you know, you got a chance. All it takes is that one fish, you know, it's paying 4 places every 2 hours. And, you know, for me, as a guy who fishes Tuesday and Saturday nights, you know, you got first, second, maybe third if you have enough boats, and you got big bass. This is a lot different. You know, you could just fish, got time to figure them out, and you got time to try to catch that one fish to win your money back at least. You know, and a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
And it gives a chance for everybody to get part of the pot.
We write 58 checks.
Exactly.
At the end of the tournament.
Exactly.
Some of you get more than one, but we write 58
It's a
checks.
great tournament.
Old check hog over
Yeah,
there.
he got a world full of them.
You got a bunch of them.
Oh, okay. Well, what you got anything else you want to add?
Drawdown. That was the biggest thing. That's the biggest reason I came here, is just to talk about that. I hate to see it die right here in conversation. I feel like something needs to be done about it. I don't know if that's all us fishermen talking to a state representative, or I don't know, or wildlife and fisheries. I don't know where it needs to be taken, but I feel like as a fishing community, we need to stand up and fight for it, because I feel like we're letting other groups win that battle, and there's a lot more of us, but we're just a lot quieter and kind of going with the flow.
Right.
I agree.
I feel like if we can all stand up and do something about it, we got a great fishery right here in our backyard. I mean, it can contend with Lake Fork. I mean, it's set up just like it.
Exactly.
If it's treated right.
It's
just like, I mean, it's a drawdown year, and we're doing all this stocking. What do you think's going to happen on a drawdown year with all this stocking? All these fingerlings about to get eaten by white perch. That's what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
Any biologist will tell you. I'm not a biologist. I'm not claiming to be one. But common sense tells me you let a bunch of fingerlings go with jakes, and the lake's 4 foot low, they're going to get eaten by white perch.
Well, one thing I'm going to add to that, we talked them into letting us, we're going to use Todd Reisinger's barge. We're going to put them fish out ourselves.
That would help.
We're going to
creek
carry them
arms
to some grass.
Yes,
that's it.
In the past,
give 'em the
they've
best
always
chance.
dumped them at Jake's, or you might correct me if I'm wrong, Dale, but I think just Jake's and main
there in
lake
Stowe
boat
Creek.
ramps. Yeah.
They dump them in Stowe Creek.
Spots where they don't have a lot of spots to hide. You know?
Yeah.
Getting those fingerlings up those creek arms, somewhere they can get away, you know, have a fighting chance.
Yeah. So when does that happen? When is the
September? Well, drawdown will start this September, but they were talking about doing the fingerlings shortly after. Am I correct?
I think they're going to do them in July, I think.
Okay.
What's that?
The fingerlings.
When we're going to get the fish.
Next Tuesday.
Oh, really?
Next week.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, the 11th.
8 a.m.
June 11th. That's when it is, yeah.
Okay. And we're going to use a barge and go find some grass patches, put it out.
Yeah, we're going to use my 2 tanks, and we're going to carry them to some grass, turn them loose.
That's good.
Yeah.
These are tiger bass too.
Yeah.
Those are good fighting fish, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
They grow a lot
quick.
faster.
Yeah, that's the
it.
ones that brought Claiborne to
Right.
the top.
Water.
See, when we were at Claiborne last year, Wildlife and Fishery was in doing a sample, doing a study.
Yep.
Remember, they grabbed every
Every
fish.
fish we weighed in went straight to them.
Yep, and they took it, and they started logging what species they were, this, that, and they come up with. I saw it, but I can't remember what
I
the
can't
findings
remember
were.
what
I
it
saw
was.
it late last year, some of it. So that's some pretty good stuff, and I'm glad that we're talking about this, because without information and communication, like you just said, it kind of
Yep.
dies on the vine.
Well, what's crazy to me is it being the 4th year, it being so exciting because you know what you could catch. It being the 4th year like this, you look at the numbers, it's just there. You know what I mean? Especially
Dale's
from your
got
tournament.
decades of
You know, I know
information.
you got the
look at it.
knowledge and all the statistics on paper, but I mean the numbers is just ridiculous. I just remember 2 years ago, I was looking to catch a 3-pounder to win an hour.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to do, catch a 3-pounder. And this year, I don't even know if a 3-pounder won an hour.
We
Maybe
had
one.
we had one 4-pounder that won, and it was
Exactly. It just kind of speaks
during
for
one
itself.
of those lag hours when everybody's getting off the lake and taking a
Exactly.
break.
Yeah.
It was Logan Martin had a 4 something.
2 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It was 4.85.
Right after the storm. In
Yeah,
fact.
that's right.
Everything after that was above that. So
One other thing I wanted to mention. You notice Stacy Young. He was nowhere in sight until the last hour, and he brought his fish in, his 3 fish, and put him up in the 2nd place. I think it was in the stringer. Stacy actually won big bass in the very first Majestic that I have. He had a 9-pounder, and he caught it right there under the 33 bridge.
Really?
Very first tournament, Majestic tournament we had, he won.
Yeah,
Catch 'em.
Stacy Young had 3rd place, total stringer 21.79, and he won the last hourly weigh-in with a 5.72.
Yeah. You know that he's Taylor Young's daddy.
Okay.
Played for Tech.
Okay.
And now, who's he playing for now? I know he's in the majors playing for somebody. And
We were talking about his other son, Bax.
Bax, yeah. I can remember when Bax
used to be riding around on the boat with Stacy, and I look over and Bax is running the channel, running by me.
Mhm.
It's hard to believe he's a big old boy too.
He's big,
yeah.
and he's going to be good.
He's going to be a good fisherman. He already is.
He's a good baseball player too.
Yeah.
Where are they from?
West Monroe.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I think we've about run our time limit up. I sincerely appreciate each one of you stopping by. I think it's probably one of the best fishing podcasts I've done. Got 3 heads in here, know a pretty good bit about what's going on, great stories, and we'll share some great information.
One thing when we leave, I want to thank Darren Jones. He came in and weighed fish for us at night. He's my neighbor. Darren's done it for several years for us. Of course, thank Daniel and Gail. Gail's been through a lot in the last 4 months, and she was on her game Saturday.
She was.
Good stuff. We always love Miss Gail and praying and thinking about y'all, because I know it ain't been
really good.
It ain't been easy. So. All right, guys. Well, look, I appreciate y'all coming in, and thank you for watching. My name's Greg Hicks. This is the Antlers Hicks Podcast, and like I always say, I encourage you guys to live your life past 20 yards. We'll see you next time.